Hello, good morning. How are you? I have goosebumps right now feeling this love. This is so great. I am so delighted to be here. And, I have to tell you, I was, not that long ago, I was on Facebook. And some of us, actually a good number of us, are Facebook friends. Hi. Hello. And I stumbled across your dear Dr. Edwards' video about your book of the month, Creative Mind and Success. And whenever I see Edward, I have to continue watching because it's Dr. Edward, right? And so he was explaining that this is your book of the month, and I thought, isn't that wonderful? And then he proceeded to say that this version that you are using is the updated and, wait for it, gender-neutral version of this book. I almost fell off my chair. I have been literally for the last decade talking about how wonderful it would be to where we can, as the progressive spiritual movement that we are, have gender-neutral language in our textbooks. And I was so excited that I actually went online and I looked up, it's Newt List Publishing, and I found the gentleman who has done this amazing work. His name is Randall Friesen. I wrote him a fan letter. As God is my witness, I wrote him, I said, thank you so much for doing this. He takes what is public domain, so what he can, and he's taken many of our classic metaphysical texts, and he's turned them into gender-neutral language. And actually then, it was so fun, because he and I had a wonderful phone call. We're friends now, which is nice. And I know he's a friend of yours, Dr. Edwards. So my point in sharing all of this, and Martha confirmed with me, there are copies in the bookstore. It's such a delight to read, and really, this is such a testament to your beloved senior minister's consciousness. This is Dr. Edward bringing this to your community, this gender. I mean, seriously, how great is that? You are the cool kids of the movement, that's all. Yeah. Very much. So this month of January, you have been doing Back to Basics, and where each Sunday you have gone over the first 4 chapters of our Science of Mind textbook, which is really a wonderful thing to do in the month of January. It's such a great way to sort of kickstart the year. And so just a quick review, the first week of January was the thing itself, which is the power back of all creation, the invisible essence, the great love of the universe, which is beyond language, that which is God, which we call spirit love. And then week 2 is the way that works. Spirit works for us by working through us. But we must, and here is the clincher, get out of our own way. Because when we can get out of our own way, and this is often my prayer for myself, to get out of my own way so the divine can move through me, speak through me. And this is the way that we fully can co-create with the divine. And then last week, dear Elizabeth brought to you what it does. And, we are surrounded by a love intelligence that knows everything. It knows everything, and each one of us has the infinite potential to draw from it. If you think about it, all inventions, architecture, science, scientific discovery, all wisdom that has come to humanity has come to those who were open and receptive to it. Which brings me to this final week, where I get to tie it all up in a lovely, beautiful, pretty, sparkly bow. And that is how to use it. How to use it. So we harness the divine power of the indwelling spirit for greater good within ourselves and the world. I'm going to say that one more time. How to use it is we harness the divine power of the indwelling spirit for greater good within ourselves and the world. There's an ancient story, you may have heard it. It's about a very famous rabbi from long time ago named Rabbi Akiva. He lived in Israel, and late one afternoon, Rabbi Akiva was walking home alone along the northern shore of the Sea of Galilee, and he was lost in thought. And he accidentally took a wrong turn, and he stumbled upon a Roman fort. So he finds himself in this Roman fort, and suddenly a Roman guard shouted down to him, Who are you, and why have you come here? And this startled the rabbi, but being the wise rabbi that he was, he shouted back, well, who are you, and why have you come here? And the Roman guard replied, I am employed by the Roman army to watch this road. Now, who are you, and why have you come here? Rabbi Akiva thought about his reply, and he shouted back up at the Roman guard, how much do you get paid to shout these questions? And the soldier replied, 10 denarius a day. And then Rabbi Akiva shouted back to the Roman guard, I'll pay you double to stand outside of my house and shout those same exact questions to me every morning. Who are you, and why have you come here? I absolutely love that you all have this beautiful theme this year of spirituality in action. You are my people. I love this. And I think that we have such a beautiful opportunity here in the New Thought, progressive spirituality movement to be a voice for the vulnerable, to take a stand for equality. And I am going to get to that, I promise. But first, as always, we must begin with ourselves. We must begin within. Are you with me? All right. So in this moment, I'd like to invite you all just to check in with yourself. Maybe take a breath. Breathing is always good. Just check in for a moment with yourself. And just notice if there may be an area in your life that feels like it might be calling for some loving attention, or for perhaps a realignment. This could be a job that you've outgrown mentally or spiritually. It could be a relationship that perhaps feels unpleasant or toxic. It could be a habit that is no longer serving you, or finances, or maybe you would just like to have a greater expression of creativity in your life. Perhaps it might be connection, a deeper connection to your partner or to your loved ones. Maybe even it's just a greater vitality in your life that you'd like to experience. Maybe a little more pizzazz. Pizzazz is key, people. My 13-year-old reminds me of that a lot. We all need pizzazz in our lives. Whatever it is for you, whatever it is, just check in, just gently notice where you might want to bring more love and light to that particular area of your life. So often, if we are not doing regular check-ins with ourselves, we can become sometimes even unconsciously complacent. Complacent to what has become our normal. Or maybe it's become your new normal. The thing is that this ever-giving life force, the universe, God, love, did not create us to just settle. God did not create us to be complacent. Now, this doesn't mean that we have to do anything big, like become president or anything. Although 2020 is just around the corner. If there are any takers, go for it. But you know what? So you don't have to do that. What I'm talking about is your inner level of fulfillment, your inner level of peace, your inner level of great love, so that you can feel it so fully that it then naturally mirrors out into your sisters and brothers and into the world. Thomas Merton said, "The biggest human temptation is to settle for too little." And I believe that what he meant was to settle for too little joy, to settle for too little peace, for too little happiness. How often do you ask someone, how you doing? And the response is, "Nah, I'm okay." Now, it's fine to be meh, okay, sometimes. We're normal, this is life, that's okay. I'm talking about generally. Generally. My friends, I am inviting you not to settle for meh. I'm inviting you not to settle for just okay. The beloved poet whose words live in my heart, Mary Oliver, recently made her transition to the other side of life. And she wrote, "When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. I do not believe that we incarnated here to live an okay existence. This light at the center of us, this life force, this infinite love is always, always nudging us onward, always nudging us to a greater experience of itself, of love. And I can tell you from personal experience that sometimes it takes courage, so be gentle with yourselves. It takes courage to step out of complacency and really look at what may be out of alignment in your life. Sometimes it takes courage. And you may be sitting there saying to yourself, well, Shannon, how can I even begin? You know, I'm so deep in this complacency. I've been settling for this, whatever that is for you, for so long, I don't even know where to begin. Well, Elizabeth Gilbert says, if you don't know what to do next, start with not this. Not this. You know? I don't know what my next job will be, but I know it is not this. I don't know what to do about this relationship, but I know it's not this. I don't know how I will manage fill in the blank, but I know it's not this. It's not how I'm doing it now. And this is a lovely bridge. It's a lovely bridge just to kind of wake you up, to begin that inner work needed so that you can move forward. So if you happen to be sitting here and you happen to be in an unsure place, going through a challenging time right now, just know that love intelligence, the thing itself, is always with you, even in what feel like bleak or dark times. And, there are so many rich stories in the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament that point to this. If you think about the creation story in Genesis, in the beginning, everything was made by God out of the darkness, it says. Then in the book of Exodus, God promises to come to Moses on Mount Sinai in a dense or dark cloud. In Isaiah 45, it says, I will give you hidden treasures in the dark. Jacob wrestles an angel in the middle of the night. The angels announce the birth of the Christ to the shepherds at night. Throughout all of these ancient stories, God's Spirit, the divine light, is always present within the darkness. Always there. And yet, sometimes we forget this, don't we? Don't we? I know I do. Sometimes it's so easy to forget this. Even when we are experiencing our own darkness, our challenge, or perhaps, even in those moments when we are experiencing inertia or lethargy, you know how it is when you absolutely know you have something to attend to, something is calling for your attention, there is something that is wanting your focus, and yet you just cannot get off the couch. You have to watch another episode on Netflix. Oh. Anyone? Yes. Hi, Kevin. Oh, I love you. Yes, but even when we are on the couch binging on Netflix, God is there with us every time. There's a Sufi story that I just love. It's an old, old story about a woman in a far-off land who is traveling alone, and she's traveling a very, very far distance, walking, and she realizes after a long period of time that she's lost. After many, many miles of walking, she then realizes that she's out of water, and she's very, very thirsty. And so she keeps going despite the pain in her feet. She keeps going until she finally hears the sound of trickling water, and she's so delighted. So she follows the sound of trickling water, only to discover that it's actually a muddy stream, and she can't drink out of it because it would make her sick. But she knows it will lead eventually to a fresh pool of water. And so she continues to follow this muddy stream, as tired and thirsty as she is. And she makes her way for many more miles until finally the stream leads to a cave, an ominous, dark cave. And she is standing there alone. And then she doesn't know what's inside the cave. But she knows that in order to survive, she must follow that stream to the fresh water. And so she summons all of her courage and strength, and she lights her lantern, and she holds it in front of her, and she walks into the cave, and sure enough, the moment she walks in, this light, this lamp illuminates the cave, and she sees that the walls are lined with the most beautiful colored crystals, and at the center of the cave is this fresh pool of water. And she is safe, completely safe, and she has saved herself from certain death. This is how we use it. This is how we harness the love of God that is within us. We remember and we trust that no matter what, we really aren't ever alone. That God is always, always guiding us, nudging us, leading the way. Always. And when we enter into any seeming cave in our life, the eternal light within us is always present. Through any difficulty or challenge, that light is always with us. It is guiding us. And when we approach these situations with this eternal light, with this love within us, this trust in God, we are changed. It softens our edges. We are safe. And moreover, that then leads to us feeling inspired to feel this love and experience this love even more. And so how do we do that? How do we do that? We do that through spiritual practice. Our spiritual practice, prayer, meditation, contemplation, gratitude, acts of kindness, being of service. You have so many beautiful opportunities here at this incredible center to be of service, to work with practitioners, classes, oh my goodness, so many wonderful things to support you, because this requires practice, 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 practice. Robert Frost, the most honored American poet of his century, he won a record 4 Pulitzers. He never went to college, but he had a passion for writing. So he wrote every day. He was completely self-taught. And once he committed himself to his passion, he was able to create the conditions to study and learn and become one of the greatest writers of his time. Because of practice. There is a term called deliberate practice, and this term was coined by psychologist and researcher Kay Erickson. And he was out of Florida State University, and what he and his team discovered was that unlike the old belief that some people were innately good at something, what they actually discovered is that, in fact, to become masterful at something, to achieve mastery at something, it has very little to do with your innate ability, except for height in sports. So my 5'4" self will never be a center for the NBA. Not going to happen for me. That is the great 7'2" basketball player and extraordinary humanitarian Dikembe Mutombo. He's done such great work in the world, and yeah, not a chance, just not a chance there. But other than height, the mastery of a subject actually requires deliberate practice. You may be sitting there wishing you had not quit piano lessons. It's okay, you can pick it up at any time. What I know, I'm sure that there are several meditators in this room, right? And what you meditators know, you understand what I'm talking about. There is no such thing as an innate meditator. That does not happen. You become seasoned meditators by doing it every day, by deliberate practice. And then one morning you wake up and you say, hello, I am a seasoned meditator. Practice. Billy Joel used to get up every single morning, even though often he would work late night gigs, but he would get up every single morning and he would sit at the piano to write. And he tells the story and he says most mornings he would sit at the piano and it would just be gobbledygook. But he did it every single morning because there were those mornings when "Sing us a song, you're the piano man" would flow through him. Deliberate practice. We must create the conditions for love or grace itself to move through us. Anne Lamott wrote, "Grace meets us where we are, but it does not leave us where it found us." We are better for it. We are more connected with the divine because of it. Who are you and why have you come here? So we can take all of this, we can take this beautiful principle, this concept to the next natural evolutionary level, because we get to be the light bringers then for each other. We are each other's angels on earth. And we can choose also to use or harness the love within us to be the light in the center of someone else's seeming cave. In the Rastafarian language, there is no word that sufficiently translates as you or other. So instead of saying you and I, in the Rastafarian language, they say I and I. I and I and I. Ernest Holmes said, within each one of us is the secret place of the Most High, the Holy of the Holies, the Ark of the Covenant, the scroll of life, the sacred name for God. Within each of us, whether we know it or not, within each of us is the secret place of the Most High, the Holy of the Holies, the Ark of the Covenant, the scroll of life, the secret name for God. And when we deeply recognize that every heartbeat is in actuality the heartbeat of the divine, we walk in the world differently. We just do. And we recognize that we can apply these spiritual principles for the greater good of the members of this one human family that we are all a part of. Mother Teresa said, we belong to each other. We do. We belong to each other. 12 years ago, a man by the name of Blake Mycoskie was traveling in Argentina, and he noticed that there were many children there who had no shoes. And this bothered him greatly. And so when he got back to the States, he came up with a very simple idea right there in his apartment. And it was to create a shoe company based on the idea that if they were to sell one pair of shoes today, they would give away a pair of shoes tomorrow. He named his company Tom's. You know Tom's Shoes? It was originally going to be called Tomorrow's Shoes, but they couldn't fit tomorrow on the little label on the shoe, so it became Tom's Shoes. But here's the part of the story that I love the most, and that is that Blake said that when they put this intention clearly out into the world and gave people a real tangible opportunity to give, to bring light to others, they showed up. Members of the human family showed up. And to date, Tom's Shoes has given 86 million pairs of shoes to those who need them. Yeah. So, to use it, we harness the divine power of the indwelling Spirit within us for a greater good for ourselves and for the world. And we do this by, number one, choosing not to settle, not to become complacent in our lives. Nothing about God is complacent. Nothing about God is complacent. So we choose not to settle. And then the second thing is we then, as the Buddha taught, light a lamp unto ourselves. We do that inner work. We go to those places that are out of alignment. And we make it conscious. We make it conscious. And we do this through diligent spiritual practice. That is how we do it. And then this becomes, like I said earlier about seasoned meditators, this becomes, this principle, this God principle becomes an intrinsic part of who you are. This grace is with you. It walks with you. Your divine atmosphere walks into a room before you do. It's that powerful. It's that loving. When we have an ongoing active relationship with the divine, it becomes over time who we are. And by doing this work, this holy, sacred work, we then discover that this light has become so bright that it cannot help to be a beacon of comfort and love to others. And so by harnessing this divine potential of the indwelling Spirit, it is from this place of divine connection that we can absolutely stand in the truth and know who we are and know why we've come here. So let's take a deep breath and just move into prayer. What a blessing it is to be right here in this energy of love, of light, of God, of Spirit, of Source, of quantum consciousness. This love that is God, this love that woke us up this morning, that brought us right here. How good it is to know that it is an ongoing relationship. This beautiful divine connection, this light from within each one of us, this love that sits at the seat of our soul, in absolute support of us in every way, in all ways. How good it is to know that we are absolutely companioned by God itself, by Spirit itself, by love right here. And how good it is to know that this love is right where we are and where every being on this side of life and the other side of life are. This love is eternal. This love is light itself. And what a blessing it is to be a part of it. To be Spirit in shoes right here. How good God is. Oh, how good God is. And so it is from this place of grace and anchored oneness that I speak my word on behalf of all of us here, knowing that as we move out into this day, this week, this month, this year of spirituality and action, that these principles of love, our love in action through us. And so from this place, the action of love, I allow this prayer to be a beacon of light and of support to any place in the world that might be calling for it right now, right here. And I bless on this Sunday all churches everywhere, mosques, ashrams, temples, circles, all paths to God, knowing we are all one in this beloved human family. I am so grateful for this knowing. I am so grateful for this truth, and I release my word into the sacred yes, knowing it is done. And so it is. Amen. Blessed be. Thank you. I love you so much. Thank you.